to Serial Podcast 9.
Hello, I'm Kevin Peterson from SERIALNINE.
And I'm Gerard DiPeralta.
And I'm Ryan Benoit. And this is Serial Podcast 9, episode 4.
All right. Today we're talking about how social media affected the car scene.
It sounds a bit like a thesis paper that we're about to write, but I promise it isn't. You got to do a brief history of how we got to where we are, or at least a run through, because when we brought up this topic, Kevin did say, like, there's probably a bunch of people that have never experienced car culture without social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we're all old enough to have lived without.
How old are you, Ryan?
I'm 36 years old. And
Kevin is?
I am 35 years old.
Oh, wow. Ryan's I'm 44 years old.
I also like that Kevin looked at his watch to say how old he is.
Well, I got to figure it out. Carry the one.
Right. Yeah. All right. So let's see. When you guys got into the scene, what was there for media?
Magazines. I would buy the magazines. I was working at a place called Teamwork Auto Sports back then, when I finally got, out of college and into the scene, if you will. And I was super into import, tuning, I guess you call it, like Hondas and stuff like that was the biggest thing. And everything that I thought of and everything that I had ideas about, I would go buy the magazine and it would already be done because California was vastly ahead of everyone. So yeah, that was the media back then. You looked at the magazine and there it is, Turbo magazine. It was Sport Compact Car.
That was the thing. There were so many different magazines back then too.
And they were pretty good.
Yeah, Sport Compact Car was a really good magazine. They had some
Turbo magazine. Turbo magazine was good, man.
All right, I'm Super Street.
Really?
I started as a Super Street guy.
I would say Super Street is equivalent to stance cars.
I started reading Super Street when I was 12. My brother had a subscription when he was in high school, and so I inherited that subscription. When import cars started where I was from, it was primarily a Honda and Acura scene. Yeah. And Super Street was kind of the anthem for the masses for that.
Yeah.
I agree with what you said. California, just the biggest influence to what everybody was doing. And then I think when I got a little bit older, I found forums. Yeah,
forums were where it was at.
And forums where, from Zilvia.
There was that. And then ICQ and stuff like that. You would talk to all your homies and share photos or that I don't know. It was super archaic back then.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel when I was using ICQ, I was in grade 9.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, I guess that's when we thought of SERIALNINE was on ICQ back in the day for our little car crew. I used to Photoshop pictures of cars slammed and send them to my little ICQ chat group and we'd be yo, it's so sick.
Total Logic came from forums because people in Saskatchewan originally called us the right hand drive crew, and we hated that name. From that, we were we should make a blog, and I wanted to make videos, and a group of us formed this thing that was half car crew, half blog.
I mean, we definitely had our roots heavily in forums.
I mean, forums, I've been on a lot of different forums. Yeah, a lot of forums at the same time.
Yeah.
How many forums can you handle at once?
Now, 0. I don't think I'm active on any one.
No, they're
forum.
I think they're all kind of gone. And it's hard to. I struggle with forums now because it's still how I try to find information for things. And I know a lot of people have shifted that to Facebook, but Facebook is.
You can't find shit on Facebook, man.
And you don't know. Nobody's got
there's no learning curve.
There's no build. There's no build threads
on
Facebook.
On Facebook. Yeah, there's no hazing process or when you sign up for a forum and then the next day some other doofus is asking the same question because there's no
what oil should
barrier
I run,
to entry. Yeah, what oil should I run? Every day, how many times can you look at that post before you gotta get out of that group?
Yeah, I was pretty heavy on JZX Project. I mean, that forum was just ridiculous, man. It was so brutal. But for a while, we were pretty high up. I would say a pioneer in the Cressida world for a lot of things, and everyone was super stoked until they weren't. I mean, it's the same thing as Facebook and Instagram and stuff now. Everyone just shit talks you the second you do something that isn't super favorable or I don't know, questionable maybe or whatever.
Or what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're not down with it. Or I mean, there's always those people that think they're better than everyone, even though like they haven't done shit.
In forums, you could check someone's.
Yeah, you get check their like rep or their clout.
Yeah, you could check like
check their
and
clout
it wasn't
level.
Just rated on how many likes they had, right?
No. It was like you had to earn it.
I always thought forums were like prison yards. And it's like if you were new there, you had to find the biggest dude in the yard and take a run at him, and then you got your rep, or you got put in your place.
But I meant honestly, thinking back, I met like a bunch of cool dudes on forums on Jayza. I met like Amin and like Ilya and like.
I much prefer the forum method than the Facebook group method.
Oh yeah,
with the Facebook group, you can see the person for all they are, but. Whereas behind the weird avatar and the hilarious
screen name
signature that you made and then your screen name, you can literally be anybody, right?
Yeah, like MX83 donkey face cocksucker or something. You know what I mean?
Was that your username? Let me Google that.
No.
To Kevin's point, when you're on Facebook, someone can peep your profile and then make it super personal really quick. When you're in a forum, the only thing you could do is butt heads over knowledge.
You might not post anything on this particular forum except the car stuff. It's not like you have your whole world out there on this forum for everyone to see, your family and
Yeah, now I gotta if I want to be friends with a dude because he's got a cool car, I also have to put up with his political views.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
His motivational quotes, his baby pictures.
Yeah.
His fucking ferret.
But I mean, dude, I used to love coming back from a trip or a drift event and writing the story and uploading the photos. And it was
totally,
it was the best, man. I miss that. I mean, I guess that's what YouTube and content is today.
A blog.
That was my transition to blogs, right? It was I had friends that I met on a local forum, and that was really funny at the time to have to explain to people that I met friends on the internet and then we met in person.
Yeah, it's super weird that that was a super thing that you never would ever do, and then it became a thing that you did, and then now it's just a completely normal thing that people do every day.
Yeah, back then it was real weird. To me, you have forums and magazines. I guess the cross section of that is actually blogs, right? And this is my heyday, right? Because not everybody takes pictures and not everybody writes and not everybody did all these things. That's where I found value in the car scene.
Mm-hmm.
So long story short, I started blogging, and there was absolutely a golden era, I think, of car blogs.
Damn, I missed that.
Well, you were around for it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know I was.
But think about it. Speed Hunters was backed by EA Games.
Yeah.
For, Need for Speed programs.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the photos all the time, especially when they have coverage from all the Japan shows. I used to click on the article and just download all the photos and use them as backgrounds and all that.
Would you read the article?
I mean, it usually says, "Oh, hey, we went to Stance Nation Gunma, and there was a lot of cars, and the VIP scene is growing, and whatever, man."
Right. Yeah, I found people.
Someone who writes articles, whatever, man.
Yeah, fucking articles.
But I mean, those aren't like a personal. You know what I mean? It's just it's a general. You go to a car show, you'd be like, "Hey, the car show was pretty good. Maybe it was run well, or the venue was cool."
I will say this. I found when I wrote more opinion pieces opposed to event recaps, it would get shared more. So
of course.
Yeah. You polarize the people and they like it, they share it, they hate it, they share it, or they think about it and they think about it.
5 signs your drift team is breaking up. And some people were livid about it. They're like, fuck this guy doesn't know me. I'm like, all right, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was a golden era, right? Mark Arsenal comes along, he's got Fat Lace, launches Illist. Illist
for
is
sure.
A brand name. There's Can I Beat or how do you say it?
Yeah.
Things I've only ever read, so I don't always know how to pronounce them. And there was that era, and then I think that era got eclipsed by Facebook, because what happened was people made fan pages on Facebook. And they just content farmed and created giant followings.
Yeah. I remember that being a really big problem at the beginning of Instagram.
Sure.
Was just content farms.
It's still there.
Yeah, I mean, they are still there.
They pop up every day.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I still follow them though.
Yeah, it's like an easy way to get dope photos.
Well, I mean, most of the ones on mine are just like drift videos. Then it's just like, like VHS option videos or like Dory vids or whatever it is,
But yeah, I guess it kind of went like the thing I wanted most was to have a car in a magazine. And then I guess with the forum, it's like you were like the upper echelon of the forum. And then I guess in the blog, it's like you got photos of your car either at the event or parked in the blog because, they only take photos of certain cars.
Or you got featured.
Or if you got featured, you were like the man.
Like dudes wanting to get featured. So like for me, I had guys be like, I'm going to start by getting a feature on Dota Logic.
That's
and then
sick.
Work my way up the blog ladder to get on Stance Nation. It's like, that's a very tall climb.
I feel like if you're not in California, you're probably not getting featured on Stance Nation.
No,
you know what I mean?
What do you mean? Half their shit's from Japan. Like,
okay, but that's what I mean. They have like a person in there, and there's no person in Vancouver or like.
Well, Dylan shoots for Stance Nation.
I mean, there's lots of like satellite photographers.
Yeah, but not. I just don't think it's gonna be a feature.
That's fair. Well, then because someone has to write it.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, photographers and writers are not the same thing.
How dare you? They can almost be.
They can. You could paint a picture with words.
For people that aren't aware, I take photos and write articles.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Fuck Gerard.
Ryan takes the best photos. Any action photo, get a Ryan Benoit photo for sure.
Your check's in the mail.
Nice.
But to your point, you said like
anytime someone who can take a photo of my car takes a photo of my car, I appreciate it. Anytime someone who takes a photo of anything I'm doing in life, I appreciate it,
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to stop and take a photo. Like, I don't know how to take a good photo. Like,
coming back from drift events and just like scouring the internet for any footage. And like when the video came out, you're like, yo, am I in the video? Am I in the video? Like when we were, I was just like, yo, like I made it. Like, I don't need a magazine article anymore. I'm like, I got 30 seconds in this like 4-minute video.
Fast forward, you have Instagram and you just have dudes that's like, you go straight to the source. It's like, you've cut out the middleman. Like you don't need me to show you that Kevin and Gerard know how to build cool cars because they can just walk around their shop and take photos of it.
I mean, it's a true reflection of today's day and age, though. It's literally like people can't even pay attention for fucking 30 seconds to like read a story about how you got to where you are. They just want to look at what the car looks like today or maybe like last week. And they're like, yo, this car's sick. And then share it a bunch of times. It goes viral on the internet and everyone thinks that this dude's like king of the world because he has put the correct wheels with the correct body kit and like lowered his car underground and like took a good photo. You know what I mean?
That's like more credit than like half of them deserve. Like it's wheels without tires on blocks of wood sitting there. And the guy takes the photos and they go all over. And it's like, that's not even a car. The fender work isn't done. There's no tires on the wheels. It's not a car. Like,
but it's a sick project.
But then is that part of it that you can follow them through in real time, a build?
I guess.
Right?
I think it just visually looks so crazy.
There's so many Instagram cars. Like the thing with the Instagram is because it's only a photo and it might be a rolling shot or maybe a little quick video here and there, but the car doesn't actually need to do shit. Like it just, you could build an Instagram car in like a day. You literally just like take the springs out, add a bunch of camber, put the stupidest wheels on the planet on it, and then drive it down your shop corridor and, blow people's minds. But it's like, is that a sick build? Like, not really. Like the car doesn't function.
But then also for how long until you have to change something on the car? Right.
Yeah.
Like you're only as good as your last build or your last show.
That's the thing. I think people just want to move on to the next thing.
In forums, you could take the crown and, like sit on the throne and it would be a while before someone could dethrone you. But
for sure.
But I think you had like a much smaller audience. You know what I mean? Unless you're on like the fucking like Toyota Corolla forum or like the Ford F-150 forum, you don't have 200,000 person audience or 1 billion people, how many people are on Instagram.
Yeah, that's true. And it's pretty quick to get 10,000 views for one post. Like it's not that difficult, right?
Yeah, it seems pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, like, maybe for you.
No, maybe you're just Gerard and you.
No, but I mean, like,
you can just buy cool cars and put other ones into the wall and shit.
No, I just mean like if your car is, let's call it Instagram worthy, 10,000 impressions is not a big deal.
It's a big deal.
But then, like, what about now there's like a whole subculture of people who just do it for that. You know, it's a new car every week. It's just destroy the car for likes and views and repeat.
The elephant in the room is YouTube. It's beyond all that. It's like now you can do all of these things, you know, in real time. They just film it and do it. Like, oh, I'm actually building a car and now I'm going to tell you about it instead of writing about it. And like, there's all these cool things you can do, and that's content creating. And I mean, that's where we are now. People just want to watch a video. Or
do you think people, though, in that sense, what that's done is like people want to watch a video. They want to watch a video of things that they can't have or aspire to be, right?
I mean, I think there's all sorts, but I mean, like, for example, I mean, I've watched
a million reasons to watch YouTube.
Yeah, I've watched
like education
to learn a skill. Yeah,
Kevin's educational videos now.
Dude, I watched cooking.
Maybe you want to learn the easiest way to take out your subframe bushings.
I watched a grip of like VQ long tube header videos recently.
I mean, yeah, that's a super common one. Like you watch it like a bunch of exhaust note videos.
Yeah. Back in the day, imagine on a forum, they'd be like, yo, like, how's that going to sound? You'd be like, well, I mean, I'll upload a video with my iPhone 6 or whatever, 4.
Before that, man, you had to like use like a camera, like a digital camera. And put that shit on Photo Bucket.
Yes.
And then like link it to the forum.
And then Photo Bucket went down and all the photos were gone.
Now it's gone.
Yeah.
I like how this has turned into like us just being really old. And
old?
How, like, technology was really hard for us.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of YouTube creators, like the big ones, that have to continually create.
Absolutely. You have to.
Appealing things. It's you're feeding this beast.
But I feel like once you get to a certain
that's kind
point,
of what I mean.
Your lifestyle is just the content creating itself. Like Adam LZ is literally just doing stuff all the time, which is pretty fucking cool. So he just has to film it or get someone to film it or film him or film anything literally happening. Like I feel like the reason why YouTube is or just videos and is so successful is because it's almost come full circle. It's like you're basically going back to the blog because you're following the one person that's doing all the shit, right?
In a vlog?
A vlog, exactly. Yeah.
It's like what you would have to spend, maybe 20 minutes writing out and 4 minutes reading. Now you can convey in 10 seconds of video.
But you got to edit it.
That took 8 hours to make.
Yeah. You got to edit that video. You got to shoot it, edit it, have a thing. So now not only do you have to know how to build a cool car.
I mean, or you got someone to do it for you.
I don't put down the amount of work that filming and editing videos is, and especially trying to create.
You can, it won't hurt my feelings.
Continuous content. This is the part that might hurt your feelings though. Like the shortest video can still convey so much more than some photos and words.
Yeah, nobody wants to read a blog,
especially drifting. Like, it's such like a live action thing that like, you can have really artistic photos that do capture like the speed and like the essence of what's happening, but like until you watch it on the video, you don't actually get it.
Yeah, that's fair with that. I am hurt, but you're not wrong. Initially, when that started, though, I started doing video. I don't know. I maybe would have gotten better at it. I'm not.
Yeah, you should continue with that.
Oh, I thought you should get better at it.
You should get better.
Yes, Gerard, I will. But I started doing that. And at the time, the issue was the amount of effort you'd put into it. And there's a lot of things that had to go right. The person would have to have a cool car. The person would have to not spin out. The person would have to know how to drive. Then you got to put all this time in and you make a video and then you get like 300 views. And it was like, all right, I guess I got 300 views off of this like kind of weird, not best video. And then when you were doing Facebook, it was like, I'll take a photo of a car, tag this driver, it shows up on his wall. All of his friends will think that and in the early days of Facebook, all of his friends will see it, like that photo because he's tagged in it. And then they get drawn into liking your blog. So, and you're right, video is probably the way to go.
Oh, for sure.
Because YouTube and like you look around, it's like, who are all the people that are being very successful? it's Donut, Hoonigan.
I mean, I feel like that's a bit different though. Like that league of media engine is quite a bit different than like a vlogger that you actually kind of give a shit to follow. Because I feel like the vlogger is almost in essence a video version of the forum guy. You know, it's like, hey, follow my life.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna tell you about
exactly.
it.
But then
every video is a post on his build thread, which is the channel.
Yeah.
But then isn't that what Hurt becomes? Because like people follow Hurt through Hoonigan to see what he's doing.
But if you're talking about Hoonigan itself, like they have like a plethora of video.
They have multiple
types.
YouTube channels.
Yeah, exactly.
And
so much fun.
Yeah.
It's a media machine is what that is. That is creating content like that.
Like today I compared it to like Red Bull. Like it's like they just create content. Like I guess Red Bull actually is a company. I always forget that they make an energy drink.
Hoonigan make clothing and zip ties and socks. I think they have socks.
Yeah, I want to make socks.
I want like silk socks that you need like sock garters to wear.
That seems pretty Serial9.
So anyways, let's talk about what happened to the fucking cars. Like forget about the types of media. Like we've talked about that, but like
okay.
So now is that our cars better? Our cars.
Wow, our car is better. That is a tough one. Kevin, what do you think? Are cars better?
What I will say, it's way easier, man. Like I remember going to the public library with Gerard because they had factory service manuals for the Toyota Cressida and photocopying them.
Yeah, that's how we did swaps back in the day.
Yeah,
we had to go and get the fucking wiring.
Yeah, like
fucking old man shit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like now there's like literally you're like, oh, I want a JZX, and you go on like the Facebook thing, and there's like a frequently asked questions, and you download an Excel sheet of every single
compatible
part number and the wiring and how to do everything, and it's just like, man, it couldn't be any easier to build a car right now.
But yet they're still asking you what kind of fucking oil to use and like where to get brake pads.
But
fucking
here's
2020.
the question, you guys.
Are the cars better now that the information's easily accessible?
I would say they're unrelated, but maybe yes. I would say that it's easier to build a car. So then that allows an easier barrier of entry. So now like Joe Schmo can like kind of get his car pretty modified. Whereas before it was a lot of work, a lot of investment, a lot of information. So then that pushes like the next guy to modify his car more and all the way up the ladder. Because if like the base level guy can get like a super modified car now, then like, you know, if you have to prove that you're like the top level guy, like you got to push it so far.
All right. So my opinion is, like to continue on kind of what Kevin said, I think that the average level of car is generally higher because you could be literally anyone. You could not know shit about cars and build like you just got to follow the same recipe that you look up like Stance S14 or something like that. And you look at 100 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you either go the same route and copy most of what they're doing, or maybe you mix it up a little bit, but like whatever the fuck you do, it's going to turn out to be at some level of like, you know, decent. But then there's still the people that like go above and beyond, and you can actually find cars that are interesting or like really mind-blowing or something sort of really unique or like very difficult for the average person to build, that stand above all of the garbage or the average or the cheap cars or whatever, you know what I mean? So I think the ultimate level has been raised, but the average level has kind of also
honestly,
been raised.
Like a ton of barriers of entry have been removed.
Yeah.
You know,
it's still that same age old thing. It's like, if you got a bunch of money, you're not modifying an S14. Now you got a Huracan that's like twin turboed and wide bodied and has $10,000 wheels. And like, oh, hey, I'm just going to like put an external roll cage on it. Or like, you know, like
that shit does nothing for me. I got nothing. I don't care about that. Dumb. What I care, but I do think though is like if everyone's building the same car entry level, and that becomes like your new normal.
That's why it's lame.
Cancel itself out a little bit because
yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, I don't know.
Look at the dudes.
To me, like you just described a Supra. It's like, all right, like so now every Supra has 700 horsepower, so now you need 1,000, and then like 3 years later, every Supra has 1,000 horsepower, so you need 1,200. You know, that's just what it is.
That's for when you cold start it and show off your cams.
And that's what drift cars are too. It's like, you know, like every drift car before needed 400 horsepower, and like now every drift car, you know, like if you're at the top level, you need 800 to 1,200. Like,
but I mean, I feel like if you're still, you can still search out the scene that you're into, right? Like, for example, that's a good example. Every drift car needs 800 horsepower and like 60 degrees of angle, but does it? Like if you're into, let's call it the final bout type of drifting scene, like you're not looking for that. You're going to look at cars like that we're talking about, like these 2000s, like, oh, it's a Chaser, or it's a JZA70, or, you know, whatever it may be, but it's in that sort of golden era. And I think those people are still more particular about what, you know, how it's built versus just like, oh, wow, he has like body kit A with wheels B, and like, you know,
like if you ever talk to Josh, aka RevGas,
exactly,
S chassis, it's a goddamn art form. He's Picasso, and he's just painting a masterpiece. But the thing is, and what I was actually going to say is a lot of those guys, and yourselves included, kind of all come from that era to a degree, right? Like I first found out about, to go back to like Revgasm, on Fat Lace or Illust, right? They ran an article on him. He had his hood off. It was everyone Chicago style, no hood. Oh my God. And then those dudes were on all these blogs when they took their cars out to California. And there was that culture of like reading about these dudes that built all these cool cars and did these things on these blogs. And I don't know if this is just me and I'm very set in my ways. The guys that came from that era are still the ones that seem to be doing it the best.
I hear you.
Right? Like,
yeah. And I mean,
nobody under our age is building cool Aristos, Gerard. Like, no, there's no. Like,
well, you just wait, man. I mean, there's been, like, I watched an article today from Fitment Industry. It's like, so you want to own a GS300? And it's like it talks all about the GS300 and the Aristo, and like my car's in the video, and like and Hertz car's in the video. And I mean, like, it's that car's gaining traction for sure. And like, what was it, like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we're like, yo, this is the S13 of VIP cars. It could definitely be drifted. It could do all this stuff. And it's like, we did it. Nobody gave a fuck. But like,
yeah, the right person.
But I mean, like, so, it's just,
well, no, I think it's just like
as time marches on, it becomes cheaper and becomes more
popular. But
more exposed. Further out it gets into popular culture, and the cheaper it gets, the more accessible it is.
And this ties us back to, I think it was episode 1, where we're talking about our project cars and why Serial 9 is Serial 9. And like, why don't you have a Chaser? And why don't I have a Chaser? And why don't you have an S14? Maybe we're okay to not follow that trend, or we're okay to do things differently, like that. Like, yeah, I built an Aristo as a drift car, which, I mean, it's not like groundbreaking or anything, but like, it's definitely wasn't a cookie cutter type thing to do. You know, why are you building a Crown instead of a JZX 100? Because maybe you just don't care that much about that car, and you know that you can make a Crown easily as sick or more sick, you know. And why am I building a Stagia? Because like literally nobody else is going to build a Stagia. So it's like kind of going to be super sick. You know what I mean?
But then that's the thing. It's that the dudes from the era that were pre-social media are still building the things that matter more than the dudes that are building all the cars that look the same and tossing their Instagram handle on the side of their car.
Yeah.
You're doing the thing.
I mean, I've seen some like fuck boys come through and build some pretty sick cars.
Name names, Kevin.
Flip them very quickly. Then they built a diesel truck, and then they built a drag motorcycle, and then they built a snowmobile, or like, I don't know, you know, it's not for them. It was just the hobby of the moment, you know.
It was for the internet as well, right? Like you're chasing that. So
totally, you know what I mean? It's like you started following them because they had that sick car. Then some other dudes started following them because they built a snowmobile, you know, and then like.
Hey, so what do you guys think about the people that are doing the most on Instagram and stuff? Doing the most, man. Yo, I got 6 inches of lip. I got 8 inches of lip. I got 50 degrees of camber, or whatever it may be. Or I got like this body kit that's so crazy, the widest fenders in the world, or like the low, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I mean, coming from a guy that's building a drift wagon with a 2J in it.
yeah, but you know, I mean, but I know it's going to work.
Yeah,
like I'm going to guarantee that. Thing's going to shred.
I've misinterpreted the idea of the most. I just meant like,
to get the clout.
I'm using clout as a code word for like Instagram followers, and they're not necessarily the same thing, or like likes or views. The the dopamine high you get.
Yeah.
Gerard's 10,000 likes.
It's not 10,000 likes. It's 10,000 impressions.
Oh, okay.
It's different.
We should just call this like 3 old men. That's what this podcast should be called. Because I will say there was a point where I like went to a drift event and I had my pink car.
Oh yeah, Kevin was the most for sure.
And yeah, no, totally. But yeah, and I remember like overhearing people hating on my car, and I just loved it. I was like, no, I'm like so stoked that people hate my car. And like, I'm sure that guy that like I'm sure I would hate is just absolutely stoked that like he makes people hate his car, you know? Like
I think you're okay with it if you're still getting validation for it somewhere else. I don't know, because I haven't built a car like that. But
I'm sure that dude gets validation from somewhere else.
I mean, there are some very polarizing cars circulating right now that like
name them. No.
You know, like that's the thing. You get these people that I'm not saying like, oh, you have to pay your dues or whatever, but you have to be able to achieve some sort of, let's call it a car. You know what I mean? Like a bunch of fucking Bondo and shitty body kits pasted together and some foo seats is not a car. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, you can drive it down the street. Sick. Like,
but is that the nature of what we've created in culture, or has that always existed? That it's like the shortcuts to attention? Because now it isn't an editor of a magazine saying,
yeah,
you got to check all these boxes to get into a magazine.
That's what I mean about no barriers of entry.
Yeah, it's the
no
forum all over again. You could post whatever the fuck you want. You could have this Instagram page and like,
but on the forum there were moderators and they'd be like, your shit's garbage, like ban, or like
I guess delete,
or like you're a loser, like everyone flame this guy. Like,
there are no checks and balances. You're right. There's no barrier to entry, but there's also no barrier to entry. Like there's a reason why magazines meant something. It meant someone that came from, I guess, a profession that I'm saying quotations, understood or actually understood the culture and the scene, gave you that pass and gave like Zap towed his car to Seattle so it could be in Super Street. And like that was a big deal for him because he's from that generation.
That's sick.
Like
that's crazy.
Now Super Street doesn't print anymore. So it's cool that there's like his car exists in print.
Yeah, no, that's a dope.
Yeah.
And but that is the idea. Like I think
is that only cool to us though?
I don't know. And that is it. Is it only cool to us?
Why do you like a JZX 100? Because it's cool and like it's from that era of the cool shit. And like to have your car in a magazine is cool, as opposed to like, I mean, there's digital photos of my car all over the fucking place. I don't know like where they are.
Getting all the impressions. But no, I do agree with you. And then there was a time where the idea of being on Speed Hunters is cool. The idea you guys were on
Water Ravens.
but that is from an era that means something, that weighs in on a thing. It's like Antonio
Alvanita.
He wrote a literal book on drifting, also then said like, oh, the Serial 9 dude's got cool shit. That means something to me.
I guess what you just said there is kind of interesting though. Is like, yeah, like that it's symbolic of the era. Like it, like that meant something at that time, the same way that like being in a magazine meant something at that time, you know?
If anybody can put their shit on Instagram, what's the top tier?
There's a ceiling there. And I get what you're saying. No, there's definitely a positive to the state of everything. Like obviously I think it benefits SERIALNINE as a company, right? Like you guys having the following that you do collectively on social media has to be of some benefit to the business.
Yeah, it makes you feel relevant.
Yeah, but in the same reason, it's like people every day that's an advertisement for what you're doing and what you're working on. Every time I watch a Gerard story, I'm being shown a part or someone that has bought a part from SERIALNINE, and that's like a customer testimonial. Every time I watch a Kevin story, I'm just going to laugh at a meme, and that's fine too. Yin and yang. No, no, but I think there's overall social media has made things better, but for the old guys,
easier.
I would say easier,
but easier
for sure.
There are always pros and cons, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you can find some really, really sick cars very easily. You could find a lot of really shitty cars. No, you couldn't. How the hell are you going to find cars back then? Look at Super Street.
You only see what the magazine shows you.
But exactly. That's like the Jumbotron at a sporting event.
No, man, because
but it's also showing you almost kind of the lamest shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know.
Because it's about who you know, not what you build.
Yeah, and it's like Super Street was probably the worst for that. You see Civic with like the worst graphics and like 19-inch wheels and like, you know, like
how was the style of the time?
But like but like, you know what I mean? That's just it. It's curated. It might as well be Hoonigan because it's curated for you. It's not like, hey, like buddy guy A through Z is putting their cars on the internet and you can choose who you want to look at.
But part of me likes obviously, and that's a dumb thing. It's self-serving. Part of me likes the curated experience, but it's
because you don't like to do the work. And that's the same reason why you don't like SoundCloud.
One, that's not true. I love fucking digging around and finding shit. But it's like, I like it because it's self-serving in the fact that it's like, well, it was fun to be half of a gatekeeper for like 4 months, 8 years ago, right? Like I did a lot of things on my own dime. I think at some point it was like, well, this guy has done X, Y, and Z, so therefore he understands a thing or two. Oh, he's shot Formula D, so when he shoots a drift event, maybe he has an understanding of this, and that means a thing. That doesn't exist anymore. So to Kevin's point earlier, that just breaks my heart. I'm just wasting my time making blog posts.
This went a lot differently than I thought it was going to. We spent a lot of time talking about the media itself versus I was like, yeah, we're going to talk about cars on, you know, like how shitty cars, like how shitty the cars can get.
Ryan is the media influence.
I do love, this is like my shit. It's like when people,
but I mean, I don't know, we could start talking about shit, like how shit cars are on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that would be a lot more exciting for people.
Okay, well, let's do that. Okay, so current day media has done all these things that we've just discussed.
Yeah.
What are the negative undertones of what it's done? So give me some things that you don't like about what modern day social media has created.
You can just create like a fallacy of what it really is. Like it doesn't have to, like if you saw a car at a car show, like the car had to get there, you know, the car had to be a car. Like now it's just like, you could just build anything to make a photo that's going to look cool.
There are definitely
car could be trailered to a car show, and that's always happened.
True, but there are definitely
there's still cars that do that. They get trailered everywhere that don't run properly. They look super cool. They win awards, but they don't run.
That's not my definition of a car, but
there are definitely a lot of these like garage builds where like every week it's a new picture of the car in the garage with like one new mod or two new mods, or like the guy standing on the fucking hood and be like, oh, something, my car's the best. And it's like, all right, man, like, you gonna drive that thing ever? Or like, what is it even for besides you practicing Bondo on? Like,
what about where they do like, they're like, yo dudes, like I just want to make this post, like, you know, really excited this week, Xenon headlights installed, and then it's like 45 different hashtags, like of every, like, you know, like the tire manufacturer and like the air freshener company, and the, like, you know what I mean?
Dude, what about the sponsorships? Like, I'm proud to be working with.
That's what I mean. That's like a base Lancer car, like a base Lancer guy would do that.
Or the like, I'm proud to have these people on my program, and it's like, what program, dude? Like, you have a car.
But then now we're getting away from.
We're definitely getting away.
Shitty cars.
We're into sponsorships.
Sure.
Let's talk more about them shitty cars.
I mean, it's a double-edged sword in all respects. So, you know.
Yeah.
I imagine there's always been shitty cars. I do, and that's
of course.
Of course, there has.
But you never see them anymore.
You never saw them because dudes with cameras were like, "Why would I?" Like, especially back in the day, it was like, "Why would I take my film camera, pay for a print of your janky shit when like there's something over there that's dope? Like, I'm not gonna do that." So technology.
The advent of digital photography for sure.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Because now you just take 1,000 photos and it doesn't even matter.
I would feel like the rise of the Blitz 03 has definitely been catapulted by social media.
Look, Hert's going to get wind of this and we're going to get canceled.
Well, he's got other wheels. He's got VS Kips. He's got all sorts of wheels.
Okay. So that social media turns people onto trends, but I think
the trends definitely like fucking gain momentum really quickly on social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's because it's faster. Even in the days of magazines, you have to wait like 3 months to find out what happened. And then it became a point. It was like, if you were at SEMA or at an event, people could post it right away and you know what the trend was. And then you had to have it right away. So I think in the idea of everything being consumable, it gets consumed very quickly and then it becomes played out very quickly. So then you end up with all these like, I threw a bunch of money in my car, but now it's played out again.
So what's the future then? What's next?
What we're actually talking about is like, what is the future of style? Where do we go to get things? And I think we're witnessing it. It's you have the cream that rises to the top of YouTube and Instagram are going to be what drive and all the things that we do for cars. I just think that the future is going to be way more shorter seasons of how long a thing can last, because like I said in the beginning, you're only as good as your last show. So it's like you're going to do a thing, it'll be played out, and then you have to switch your game up. I think it's just consumerism. I'm just looking at mass consumerism.
One thing I've kind of just sort of realized is like a lot of the popular YouTube channels or whatever, like none of them are really doing anything super groundbreaking. I mean, there's a lot of like pretty nice cars being built, but they're still just sort of like really, really nice versions of generic cars. Like between, you know, like the 3 or 5 or whatever biggest YouTubers, you got like, you know, really nice JZX 100s, really nice R34s, really nice FDs, still no like real groundbreaking cars. Like nobody's like, I mean, Adam LZ built a Barra Mustang, which is pretty sick with a sequential. Like that's kind of cool, but like nobody's building like a Ferrari with, I mean, I don't know, like, you know, like the craziest, like if you have that much money and you have that much, you could literally build anything, but yet you're still building an R34 with like titanium intercooler piping, you know.
But maybe there's a reason for this. Maybe it's because it's
the rest is not relatable.
And it's market research. This is like you look across the internet, and if you understand the scene, you know what a desirable car is in that niche.
Oh, of course.
You know the paint by numbers, as we said. There's a minimum, the bar of entry is way lower, and you can look at like what is then the best example of the lowest.
But also maybe you just really like that car too, because you're just a dude, just like all the other dudes that watch your channel that really like R34s or really like JZX 100s.
Yeah.
Like maybe your dream car isn't a 900 horsepower NA sequential stage. You know what I mean? Like VK56 engine out of a GT1. Like maybe that's not your dream car. Your dream car is an R34 with titanium intercooler piping.
It's way easier. I think it's way easier when the business is to build things that people would be interested in.
Yeah.
And then to build the thing that you would want to be in. It is like you're creating content to be consumed. And when you do that, you have to make sure it's appetizing. And that's maybe where you lose, to your point. Some of the originality is because it's feeding the beast as it needs to be.
How does that relate to old school hot rodding? Do you think old school hot rodders were pretty cookie cutter back then? Or like, I feel like a lot of them were building just the craziest possible thing they could think of.
Well, Gerard, I don't know anything about hot rodding.
I feel like it was all just like the cheapest shit. It was like the SERIALNINE recipe. It was like, all right, well, like that car is a sedan and it's free. And like, holy shit, that motor's all hopped up and it's like really good. And we'll put them together and we're not going to get pulled over and this thing's going to shred. And like, you know, and like, I feel like that was what hot rodding started with, was this like the shitty cheap car and like put a huge motor in it. And,
but I think hot rodding,
and then go have fun.
Man, I don't know. I'm going to say some things and they're all going to be wrong. There was the desirables of the Skylines, the RX-7s, and whatever the counterparts in hot rod culture would be.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you move to, well, shit, I can't afford that anymore. So I might as well take this like slightly cheaper car and make it look super dope, or build it to be really fast. And then you get to that part of hot rod culture. I imagine maybe it followed some of the same things, but if your goal was to get into a magazine, there was probably absolutely some steps that you had to follow to get into that magazine, but they were probably like pretty aspirational steps to follow. If your goal now is to get a bunch of likes on Instagram, probably not as many aspirational steps that you have to follow, and probably just a better understanding of the medium. Or you do the thing where you make the internet mad and build a silly car.
Closing thoughts. Do you like the state of social media and car culture today?
Okay, I'm gonna say I do like it because I'm narcissistic. I like to be able to like post up a photo of my car, which I think is cool, and have other people be like, "Yeah, that's cool." I like that, you know.
All right. So to answer the question, do I like the current state of media? I don't know. I mean, I guess I like it when I win at it, but I do think that we're heading towards a culture where anyone can pose as an expert without actually putting in the work. It's kind of like the appearance of knowledge opposed to actual knowledge. The biggest voice isn't always going to be the one that's right.
The world's a changing.
Facts, Bob Dylan. Times are a changing.
Yeah.
All right, team. Good chat. Glad we did it. Thanks for hanging out.
Yep.
We accomplished another one.
Say goodbye.
So good night and goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Au revoir.
Thanks for listening to Serial Podcast 9.